It wasn't until a friend of my mum's taught me this, you know, when I was like really young, and he taught me that, and then I went and showed my dad that weekend, and he was like, "Oh, you're playing guitar now?" And then that was kind of it. Go. Hi, I'm Tom Ford. I'm a guitarist and producer. I play with a lot of UK acts, Reuben James, Poppy Ajudha, Jay Prince, and also with Chris Daddy Dave and the Drumhedz. A lot of the time, the people I like to work with, we kind of share interests musically, or there's like some common grounds. But then also, it's got to a point now with a lot of the people where it's moved beyond that, and it's kind of like we trust each other just to like see what happens and kind of just like always going fresh. And then it's kind of like just having a conversation with a friend. It's kind of just like talking to each other, and like, you know, you press record. I love the guitar just because it's like, out of all the instruments, probably like the least limited to like a specific sound. It's one of the best instruments to be able to like create a hyper personalized sound. Like I feel it's a lot harder to create a sound as a pianist because you're limited by the actual instrument, whereas on guitar you've got like multiple variations of the instrument itself, and then effects pedals, and then of course the different strings you use, the technique you use, and like within that it was like I found it a lot easier to find myself. So yeah, that's why I love the guitar. I kind of lean towards a darker sound. I always found that like the higher trebly side of stuff will clash with cymbals and stuff, and especially if you're playing with a brass section. So I always like went for a more like mid-focus sound, and that kind of translated into the records I work on and the stuff I play. Is like I kind of found an area to sit within. The Reuben James song So Cool is a really good example of that. It has this guitar solo at the end which is dry, but it kind of, where it sits in the mix is like a perfect example of like my kind of sound even without effects. And that kind of like leads on to the strings I use. So I tend to opt for flatwound strings because I find that they help cut off that treble. And they also have a softer attack, which is something I really like as well. I find sometimes the guitars may be almost too instantaneous, especially an electric guitar. The flatwound strings, the top tapes, I find them like great because you don't have to mess about with an amp too much, and I don't really want to turn the treble completely off on an amp. So yeah, I tend to use them, and that's kind of, I don't play steel string guitar ever. I only play nylon string, and again, it's a similar thing. I find that nylon strings are softer with a softer attack, a bit darker, not as much treble. I mean, you can if you dig in, you know, like you can get that, but like I prefer this kind of sound, and I find that flatwounds and nylon strings are like, if I'm not going to have any effects, that's what I want to go for. And of course the top tapes and the Superia, they're like great for me. the first people I ever heard that like really struck a chord with me was like Link Wray, and just the fact that he's like playing in the 50s the most distorted guitar sound ever at that point, and that's like miles ahead of what anyone else was doing. I love the fact that he's by all accounts not an amazing guitarist, but he's using the strengths of like what you can do with this instrument, which is find a unique sound that no one else is doing. And then of course that just continued with like Hendrix and David Gilmour, and then the same with the jazz side of things, you know, like it kind of evolved from trying to fit in with a horn section or somewhere with a piano to like people like Pat Metheny, and it's like it doesn't sound like anything else. You can tell it's a guitar, but you can also tell it's only Pat Metheny or it's only John Scofield. When I hear somebody that has like something that I've never heard before, not so much technique or what they're actually playing, but the actual sound, that's like what sticks out to me.